right, so I think we're getting ready to start here. I want to thank everybody who's here tonight. I know it's been a hard way to go, and they can't make up their mind what's going on out there in that crazy world, but I'm glad that y'all are here with us tonight, and we're going to have a good time. We're going to learn about flowers and just have fun like we always do. So I know that y'all out here who are sitting in the audience can't see, but we have, let me see if I can see how many people. We've got 40 people who've joined us on Zoom, 40 of our Master Gardeners. Woohoo! So I think with them and then y'all that are here, that probably has us up around our regular, group of folks that we generally have at our monthly meetings. So I'm really proud that we haven't lost any folks on that front, and that people are still engaged and wanting to tune in and see all the awesome things that are going on with our group. So yes, so I feel like congratulations should be in order. We have almost officially made it through summer. I mean, August can still be pretty hot, but we did have a little break last week, and that felt, or I guess it was earlier this week, and it felt really nice to have some temperatures and lower humidity where we weren't just, sweating when you're just standing there outside. So that was nice. I hope that you all enjoyed summer celebration. I know that was a crazy different format as well. And of course we did it in that fashion because planning for summer celebration has to start so early, actually in the year previous to the year that we actually have summer celebration in. So, that had to begin so early that we were uncertain of what would be going on. And so we did not have that event in person, but I feel like we did still found some creative ways to get that information out to you. So I hope that you enjoyed it. We ran into some technical difficulties. The phone overheated. I fell down a few times. I stabbed myself with a yucca plant. I'm sure y'all heard that when it was in the section when Carol was our main live speaker in the morning time, and I was following her around, and we kind of wrapped things up in the dry bed. We were fixing to head over to Natalie Baumgartner in the vegetables, and we had just gotten done talking about how sharp those dang yuccas were, and I ran right into one anyway. When I went back and edited those videos on Facebook, I went ahead and took some of that out. I was just kidding. But it was an awesome fun time for us anyway. We got to be here together filming that and getting that online for y'all. So I hope you enjoyed it. And then raise of hands, did anybody watch some of those pre-recorded sessions that came live in the afternoon? They were kind of like short snippets of information so that you didn't have to, they weren't like hour-long presentations. You could listen to a 20-minute presentation on herbs or a 20-minute presentation of the divas. Did anybody watch the divas? Oh, good. Well, did you know that I was their videoer? I was their videographer, so I got to be on that one too. That was fun. It's herbs, y'all. I don't know. They always have a theme, No, I said that wrong. It's herbs and honey. Their theme was herbs and honey. And so anytime they used herbs or honey in the recipe, they'd say, it's herbs and honey, y'all. It was cute. Yeah, so I'm glad that y'all had fun with that. I know that we had fun with that, but we're looking forward to a live summer celebration in 2022. And I think that's all I have on that front. Okay, so I do have a few other announcements as far as just like statewide Extension Master Gardener stuff goes, but we have a guest with us here today, Miss Christy. She is from the city of Jackson. The city of Jackson, yeah. I was making sure I wasn't getting mixed up with the county. And she is come here tonight to kind of talk to us about some volunteer opportunities for Madison County Master Gardeners.
Hello. It has been a while since I've been on this podium. I'm a 4-H'er, so I have been here before. Some of you may know me if you are part of the Keep Jackson Beautiful group. So I'm new to the City of Jackson. I'll tell you a little bit about my role. I'm the Community Engagement Director for Recreation and Parks Department. So my job is to find ways to engage our community. I know that our Master Gardeners are a huge part of the planters and activity days at Liberty Garden and those kind of things. What I am rolling out this fall is a park partners program. So random trivia. Does anybody know how many parks we have in the city of Jackson? Other than Celeste? She can't
30.
she can't answer.
30.
25.
Close. You are probably closer than what anybody else would guess. We actually have 20 parks in the city of Jackson. Now we have an amazing groundskeeping crew, and they do their best to keep up with everything that they can. JD is our superintendent for groundskeeping. For those of y'all that don't know, we had about 8 lawnmowers stolen about a month and a half, 2 months ago. So if you've noticed grass getting a little shaggy in some areas, they're doing the best they can with what they got. We're waiting on insurance to purchase our mowers to replace them. But what we would like to do is to involve the community in taking pride in the parks that they're around. And so whether that's organizing a cleanup day, working, we can provide the pickup sticks and the vests and the trash bags if you want to do a litter pickup day, just things like that, to take pride in our parks, earn some volunteer hours, and really just kind of beautify our areas. And so I mentioned this in our Keep Jackson Beautiful meeting, and Jack said, oh, you need to come and talk to the Master Gardeners. So this is the first time you're seeing me, but it probably won't be the last. I know that there are some interns right now.
Yes, they're not here yet.
Okay.
They're fixing to start. We've got a new batch that's fixing to start, and then we have a batch that just finished up training more recently, and they are still actively working on hours. Yeah.
So I'm hoping to tap into some of those interns, and maybe we can have just like a rolling thing that, yes, and every new class you have kind of, takes it and kind of makes it their own. But so that's kind of my goal, is, Liberty Garden is beautiful. It's probably one of the most beautiful parks that we have in Jackson. And so we want that to spread. And I know that the community has to, but a lot of times the community doesn't even know that opportunities are available. I'm born and raised in South Jackson. Melissa's Park is my park. It's the park I grew up in. I went to summer camp. I played ball there. My family lives there, but when my mom's like, can we not just like go over there and clean up the park? Yes, you can. But I think a lot of people just don't have that knowledge. So just to kind of give y'all, heads up, I don't have everything in stone yet. We're going to be talking to stakeholders around those parks, which would be the employers, the businesses, any schools that are in that area, because we do want to make this a community effort. So kind of think of it how schools have pie partners, parks are going to have park partners. And that is our goal, and we hope that y'all will join in on that endeavor. I'll be passing all that info along to Celeste. But again, I'm with the city. If you want to check out our parks page, it's parks.jacksontn.gov. We're on Facebook, Jackson TN Parks. We are on Instagram. I'm really just trying to push everything that the city has going on, so that we can get other people involved, so that they can know how awesome Jackson is and what all we have going on. Because we got a lot of stuff going on. When I've lived here my whole life, and when I joined, I was like, we have a ceramics house where you can go and pick out a piece and mold it and pour it and fire it. And I'm still learning what a lot of these terms mean. But that's just one of the things that we have. We're having lunch and learn programs at Westwood. You can come to Westwood and work out for free. A lot of people don't know that. You can come walk the gym. We got a treadmill. We got all kinds of different equipment. So we're just trying to get the word out about what Jackson has to offer and then community opportunities to volunteer. So I hope that y'all will join us. Thank y'all for allowing me to come out. Thank y'all for what y'all do right now for the parks. We just want to spread that love a little bit more throughout the community. So thank y'all.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Christy, so much. That I know many of you are familiar with JD Sims, who's the superintendent of that grounds crew, and y'all, with 20 different park locations, not to mention other city properties that they have to maintain, like the Civic Center, right? That's not a park, they still have to take care of it. He has like what, 4 workers, I think?
He just got approved to hire 4 more.
Okay, well, good, because I was gonna say, well, good. I mean, in my head, I just cannot make the math work. How could you even just do bare minimum? How could you mow and mulch 30 plus properties with 4 employees? It just seems impractical. So thank you for letting us know about the opportunities, and we look forward to helping y'all do the things that we can do. Okay, thanks. All right, cool. So next on our agenda for this evening, agenda, how country am I, agenda? We sadly are about to part with our interns that have been here at the UT Gardens grounds this summer. Trevor and Ethan have a few things that they would like to say, and have put together a really nice PowerPoint to show us some pictures of some of their experiences. We'll get the lights fixed so y'all can see good.
Hello. Everyone doing good tonight? Cool. So if you, oh, that's really dark really quickly. Wow.
Got too dark.
Too dark.
That's too dark.
I think it'll work. Yeah. Yeah. So if you guys don't remember me, I am Trevor Sexton. I was one of the interns here this summer with Jason. Really enjoyed my time here. I'm from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. So I came up here from Knoxville to do my internship here. I'm there studying plant science concentrated in sustainable landscape design. So I'll actually leave next week, next Saturday, I guess, to go home and start my school semester on the 18th. And then Ethan.
I'm Ethan Wilson. I go to UT Martin, and I'm what? I don't know. I'm going there for plant and soil science with a concentration with landscape and ornamentals. I'll be leaving in 2 weeks. 2 weeks now. The 20th is my last day here.
I have enough trouble remembering my own things, Ethan. I can't remember yours for you too. That's your job to remember mine. But yeah, so we really enjoyed our time here. One of the things that we really enjoyed getting to do is we were able to go on a trip with Jason where we went to Chicago and Michigan and Wisconsin. So we got to see all different gardens and all different sections of our industry, touring greenhouses and different botanical gardens, and really getting to know different aspects of what the industry that we're going into looks like. It was an amazing trip, and it wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for you guys paying and helping us go on this trip. So we're very thankful that you guys were able to send us and let us travel with Jason. It was an absolute blast. We had so much fun, and I think the slideshow should hopefully show that as well.
They should.
So I guess
You want me to take it over?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. Let's see.
There's something else. I guess
Oh.
if you do I think it's this button.
There we go.
Yeah, just
So
push the over button. Yeah.
we went to Chicago first, and the first stop we made, the first botanical garden, we went to the Chicago Botanical Garden, as you see. We also were given a chance to see their trial gardens as well, which was a really cool experience. Then we went to Ball right afterwards. And we did get a chance to meet Ann Ball, is that correct? Anna Ball, which is the owner of Ball, which was a very nice experience.
The yellow in the middle, right?
Yeah, the corner picture with the yellow skirt right there.
Ball is the
Is
largest horticulture company in the world. They have lots of other companies, and we trial for them.
Then we went here as well. That is Carson up in the tree. Yes. Then we went to Millennial Park. We didn't get much pictures there, but I think what Wisconsin was next. We got to see the Rotary Gardens. Trevor and Gnomes are one of each other. And we got the chance to meet Jeff Epping and John and Jenna Matthews and visit their home gardens as well. And we went to Epic here, which was it's a healthcare software company. Is that right? And it's just a massive place, acres and acres. We also went to the Old Brick Botanical Gardens, which was very nice site. I think you did a Facebook Live while we were there. And we finally went to Michigan. We got to visit Walter's Garden. And I don't remember how many acres of glass they had. But they were we buy a lot from them as well, right?
Yes, a lot of our perennials come from Walters. The largest barroot perennial nursery in the United States. So a lot of our barroot perennials that we buy in come from them, as well as some that are close.
And they're also known for the mangavis, right?
Yes, they created their breeder created Mangave, which is a cross between agave and Manfreda, which we've sold a few at our plants, so they're not hard to hear.
Then we got to meet Chris Hansen. It was a real privilege to meet this man. Hilarious. Huge into succulents and Spring Meadows Nursery. And I do believe they were doing 40 acres. They just expanded 40 acres under glass this year. And we got to tour Dale's River House, River Home. Got to tour his personal garden. And that was a nice experience there. Then we got Jason Beyond the Borders. These few pictures we got here is him ignoring all the signs not to walk past the garden. We try to get a few. There's a lot more times in these three photos, to be honest. We tried to get it to where you could see the sign that specifically said "Don't walk here" in it, but for the most part, no, the best part was Jason wouldn't even know. We would just look at him and be like, "Hey, Jason," he just smile real big and pose for the picture. And we'd be like, "All right, perfect." So I think we stashed up probably between UV and Carson. We probably had around 5 or 6 photos, and these are the 3 that we went with. But yeah, is that it? That is awesome. Yeah, so that's the last of the slideshow we made, but we just wanted to thank you guys again. We appreciate it so much. You guys have really made this summer an absolute blast for us. So thank you guys so much again.
Okay, we're gonna turn the lights back off again. That was a premature relighting of the room. I want y'all to be able to see what I'm about to show. Hey, for those who are on Zoom, bear with me. I'm gonna stop sharing the screen because I'm changing screens, okay? So let's get that down. And then I'm gonna pull up my browser. Okay, and then I'm going to reshare. I can get y'all back on here. Okay. So those on who are with us on Zoom, you should now be looking at my my browser, and it says Master Gardener UT extension with this big red play button in the middle of it. And that's what y'all should be seeing too. This is kind of fun. I'm like multi, right? Talk to them, talk to y'all, talk to them, talk to y'all. But here we go. So this is, okay, raise your hand. Do you get the Tennessee Extension Master Gardener e-blast from Dr. Natalie Bumgardner? She sends it out about once a month. Sometimes it comes out twice a month if we have really important information. Okay, so I'm considering beginning to forward those on to our entire mailing list whenever I get them in my inbox, just because I'm not sure who all gets it. So some people don't get it. Okay. And I'm not sure why that is. I'm not sure how they created that list, but I'll begin forwarding that on. And it is a really neat little e-newsletter. And I like it because you don't, like, if it's not, if the topic isn't something that you're particularly interested in, you can just continue to scan on down through the newsletter. It contains all these links. So if you want to know more about it, you click on that link and it takes you to whether it's a registration link for a meeting or a video for like a recorded video that we've stored somewhere. So this is kind of an easy access place to find all of our past educational sessions. And so I wanted to just remind you all, I know I haven't talked a lot about it as far as communication directly from me, but we are getting ready to have our Western Region Master Gardener Conference. So if you'll recall, we used to have annual statewide conferences. We changed that several years ago, and we rotate years with a statewide conference and a regional conference. So in 2020, that was supposed to be our statewide conference, and we were going to Greenville, yes, where the rhododendrons are. And that was supposed to be what we were going to do. Well, that got canceled. So we're pushing that to 2022. And in 2019, we actually did get to have our Western Region Conference, and it was at Lone Oaks. And I feel like we had about 15 of our group that came to that. So that was a really fun thing, something here and local. So this year, we're back to a regional conference year, and it's being hosted in Clarksville, which, believe it or not, is considered the Western Region when you come to Extension. They kind of have a funky little border, and so a few counties that could go either way, Middle Tennessee or West Tennessee, the border kind of changes up there. So we're excited about going to Clarksville, and Carla Keene is the Extension agent there, and she runs a great Master Gardener program. And I don't know if you've been to Clarksville in a while, but they have a really nice waterfront area. The river comes right through the city. They have an awesome park down there on the water, and a really nice pavilion and learning center called Liberty Park. And that is where our Western Region Conference is being hosted. And so I'm going to see if I can play this video here. This is of Carla kind of introducing the conference and welcoming everybody. Oh, there's an ad. We'll skip the ad in 3, 2, 1. I can't hear it. Let's see. Can y'all hear it? And essentially, I just kind of wanted that to be an introductory and a leeway into asking those of you who might be interested to go ahead and register. So you'll see here on that e-blast, the registration links are there in blue, and I will be there in case you thought that you might be alone and not know anyone. I'll be there, so you will not be alone, and that's going to be fun. We've got lots of things planned, several tours, and we do have some, plans in place if if we need to have extra precautions as far as COVID goes with social distancing. Like I said, we're hosting it at a park, so we have capabilities of moving things outdoors, really spacing things out. When we go on the tours, if that becomes an issue, we may not go together as a group by tour bus, and we may carpool individually, right? So like you and your friends that came with you to the conference, could drive to those tours individually. So we do have some things in the plans there, just in case you were cautious about that. And of course, if you register for the event and then we have to cancel it, you'll be fully refunded all that money, just like we did for the statewide conference in 2020. I feel like a broken record. It's a same story, different song, I guess. But yeah, so just make sure that you check out these e-blasts and kind of scan through there. And this is really going to keep you up to date on what's going on throughout the state with Tennessee Extension Master Gardener. Our Friday focus sessions have been going great. I know several of you have been joining in with us on those, and they're super fun because we partner up with another state extension program. And so we feature one of either their master gardener programs in another state or just some of their horticulture programming. We've done that with Arizona and Florida and West Virginia so far. So those are really cool. We do a session from another state, and then we do a session from inside our state. So really getting a lot of exposure and sharing ideas as far as that goes. Let me see what else. And just links to all of or some of our most recent educational courses are in that e-blast as well. Okay, so enough on that. Let me stop sharing. Okay, Jason, do you have any kind of announcement type kind of stuff? Okay, so now we're going to go to Jason's and announcements before we begin on our program. Okay.
Summer celebration. I just want to mention a thing or two Celeste brought up. If you have not watched those videos, I haven't watched them more than once. I've listened to them more than once. I will play those while I'm cooking at night. And it's so much fun to just hear some of them. And I'll hear the same ones over and over, but I pick up things. Alan Wynnum is great talking about the mushrooms and the fungus. He's just a great speaker. Alan's going to retire in a few years, so take advantage of listening to those. So you can go back and listen to all of those. And yeah, the Diva's cooking. I mean, I'm cooking and I'm laughing. I'm not even looking at the screen. I'm playing on my computer, but I'm laughing at hearing them laugh. So we enjoyed that. We made the best of what we could, and we did have some difficulties, like she said, but I think overall it went really well. And just think, 15 years ago, we wouldn't have been able to do any of this. So we're lucky that we do have some other avenues of getting information out there. So. This morning, I sent an email about bananas out. If you got that email, but you didn't get Celeste's that went out a couple hours later, there's some glitch going on. I had the exact same email list. Actually, I pull up her email that she sent me with the Excel file, and I copy it out of there every time. So there's something going on. We're not sure what. Check your spam. Mother checked hers yesterday, and it's not in her spam. We don't know where they're going, but it's the exact same email list. So I'm not sure what to do about it, but there was a couple emails in there that were wrong, and we've got those corrected. But again, if you got one for me and not her, or vice versa, worked off the same list today. So let us know that, and we'll see what we can attempt to do. We had our first meeting today, official meeting about the fall plant sale and our celebration of the bicentennial of West Tennessee becoming part of the state of Tennessee and Madison County. Also Carroll County. I'm not sure, there might be some other counties, but becoming a county in West Tennessee. So the process started 200 years ago this year, and it finished up 200 years ago next year. From the Mississippi River to the Tennessee River, becoming part of the state of Tennessee. So the state will be celebrating that. We were approached by the Madison County group that's celebrating the bicentennial of it becoming a county way back in the late winter about kind of doing something about the history of agriculture. So on October the 9th, that's a Saturday, we will be having I forgot what we were working on the name of it, UT Bicentennial Celebration or something like that. We'll be here on that Saturday. If you ever went to the Fall Folklore Jamboree in Milan or the Ames Plantation Heritage Day, it'll be similar to that. There'll be a quilt show in this room that's over the top. The way I understand it, we have to have a security guard during the quilt show. So Anyway, I'm just learning all this stuff. But anyway, there's going to be a quilt show here. There'll be a tractor show. There'll be broom making and I think maybe pottery and lots of the craft kind of things, a wagon tour around the facility as well. It will be some lectures as well about nature, wildlife. Brittany Byers, who spoke several years ago when we were at Methodist Church downtown when this building was being renovated, spoke on butterfly and wildlife plots and stuff. She'll be here representing, I guess, USDA. Quail Forever, yes. And so anyway, there'll be individual tents outside with different people set up under those. I think there will be one big tent for speakers, but not the huge tents of summer celebration. So that's all going on that Saturday. Yeah, there will be $5 admission per person. We are a little afraid that we'll be inundated with people because it's going to be cooler in October. So well, we don't know if it's going to be 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 people, but we are going to charge. At first, we're going to do it free. We're like, no, there's no way we can handle the crowd. Anyway, mark your calendars for that. The plant sale starts on Thursday before, so that's Thursday the 7th. That's also your monthly Master Gardener meeting, who we have Susan Martin lined up, who was lined up last year, and we just pushed her forward. So Susan Martin formerly worked at Walter's Gardens that you see there. Susan runs the Instagram account for Proven Winners. She writes catalogs for lots of different companies. She's a garden writer and an excellent gardener as well. If those of you followed me on Facebook on our trip, the last pictures I posted were of Susan's garden. So she'll be here speaking. We are still kind of working on the times. Traditionally, that would have been like a 1 o'clock talk and then a 6:30, 7 p.m. talk that evening, and the plant sale would have started after that first talk was over. We may move her up to speak like at 10 in the morning. Plant sale will start, then she'll speak that evening at the normal meeting, and then the plant sale will also continue on Friday and most likely on Saturday as well. Plant sale Thursday and Friday will be in the parking lot where the fall plant sale always is, and then we'll have to move over here to the lawn on Saturday to make more parking for the event that's going on Saturday. So keep all those dates in mind: 7th, 8th, and 9th. 7th, 8th, and 9th plant sale, and 9th the heritage, whatever we decide to call it, bicentennial celebration. So
And we'll need volunteers.
we're going to need lots and lots and lots of volunteers, because unlike summer celebration, when we have 50 students working here in the summer, there'll only be a handful here in the fall. Some of the grad students will be here, so we're going to need lots of help. Also, a lot of the employees here will be busy harvesting their crops in the fields, so we're going to really need lots of help with the plant sale, but also probably just maybe even taking up the admission and counters and all sorts of things. So really going to need help with that, and but we're really excited about it. I think it'll be a good thing, and hopefully things will begin to improve again here soon, and we'll be good in October. Of course, it's all going to be outside with the exception of the quilt show in here. So no lectures indoors. The quilt show will be the only indoor thing that will be going on. So again, we're really excited about that. And the last thing I had on here, I think about 20 of you are signed up to go to Ireland with me in August of 2022. And we have, I think, about 8 spots left on that trip. So I know several of you have expressed interest that hasn't actually officially signed up, but we're filling up and excited. It's mostly Master Gardeners that are going on the trip. So that's with Troy, Martin, and I. So if you got any questions about that, please don't hesitate to ask me about that. And yeah, we're looking forward to that. So. Anybody have any questions, complaints, concerns? That's what I always ask my crew. Anybody got questions, complaints, concerns? So, all right. Well, thank you for being patient with us over the last year and continuing to be. Who knows? We may not be here next month, but I sure hope so.
All right, good deal. Okay, so lots of business, right? I feel like, well, we did. It's been nearly 2 months since we've been together because we skipped our meeting in July because of summer celebration. So yeah, we had a lot of business to cover. And so now we're going to talk briefly, not just kidding, we're going to talk about flower arrangements. And you know, I was trying to decide in my head like how to frame this talk, and I didn't really want it to be like super instructional, because I mean, you all know, you're gardeners, you grow plants. Making an arrangement is not rocket science, right? You do what looks good to you. And I feel like there aren't tons of rules, or at least there shouldn't be tons of rules when you're making an arrangement, right, to please your own aesthetics. But I did want to give y'all a lot of ideas and talk about some other resources, and then also kind of point out some ways that you can use some of these skills and use plant material from your gardens for different things within the Master Gardener program and beyond. So let me pull up, I made a little slideshow that's just slap full of pictures. There's no words, it's just only pictures. Let's see where it is. That is the question. Look at that crazy desktop of mine. I hate that y'all are seeing that. Okay, so folks on Zoom, give me a thumbs up if all you see on your screen says MCMG August meeting flower arrangement. That lets me know that we are on the same page. Okay, yes, I see a thumbs up. Excellent. Perfect. Okay, so I want to start us out. This is not what we're going to learn today, but, but there are places where you can go learn about this. Many of you know some of our Master Gardeners, Marie Kuiper and Andrea Love. They both are members of a garden club, the Gibson Garden Club, and all of the Gibson Garden Club meetings, I don't say all, that's not the only thing they do, but they really focus on floral design. And to me, floral design means a different thing than floral arrangement, right? So most of the time in these designs, use of actual floral material is very limited. And the purpose of it is really to showcase those few individual blooms using props, backgrounds, and just different organic and other inorganic materials. And so you might call this contemporary floral design. There's lots of different things about it, but Marie let me borrow this book. She brought it to me this morning. She wanted to be here with y'all this evening to kind of talk to you about some of these concepts that they learn about in practice, but she couldn't be here tonight. And so I'm going to put these on the front table, and I really want those who are interested to come up and take a look, because they have some awesome, awesome pictures and great inspiration in these books. I've got 2 of them here. And so let's see, I think this was 2 summers ago. Marie and Andrea participated in a class that was hosted at the Dixon Gardens and Galleries in Memphis. And I don't think it was the Memphis Botanic. I'm almost positive it was the Dixon. And they went to these classes. I believe there was a fee associated with it, and they provided the materials and taught them different concepts to put together some of these designs. And so these next few pictures, this one and the others you're going to see, are some of Andrea and Marie's designs that they made. And so I'm just going to click slowly through them so you can take a few minutes to just kind of absorb them. I thought this one was really neat. I believe they encouraged people to bring things from their home that they really wanted to display, and then they helped them come up with ways to use them and incorporate them into floral design. And see, these flowers aren't anything extravagant. What have they used in the first 2? Gladiolus, 1 or 2 stems of gladiolus. They've got cane reed in there. They're using lots of metal and wood here. What are I always forget what those are called, Jason. Huh? Alstomeria, that's just that, I say cheap. It's an inexpensive flower that you see in floral arrangements all the time.
The big piece in that arrangement is part of the palm frond that comes off. It's like the bud cover of a palm. So when the leaf opens up, that's a piece that falls off.
Y'all can't see my pointer here. He's talking about, if you're wondering, for those online, we're talking about this section here. It almost looks like a piece of wood, like a boat-shaped wood. And then I believe that's pine branch, a pine branch. And then this one was really neat. They used, that's actually Nandina berries, just a stem off an Nandina bush, right? So like every other person has one of those Nandina domesticas with those big, huge clusters of berries. And then they took sticks. You can see sticks have been incorporated and spray painted on that high gloss red to go with the rest of their design. And these designs are most often displayed against a background. I don't know if you've noticed this one, they've put up one of those white trifold boards behind it to really offset it. And that way you can see the lines very clearly and appreciate. And this one, you can see they put up a black trifold board in the background, white again here. And then this one was almost a watercolor. You can see the blues and greens on there. So just wanted to introduce that to y'all because I wasn't very familiar with this concept of floral design. And I went to speak to the Gibson Garden Club. I mean, I started going and speaking for them at least once a year, as I do most of our local garden club associations when I first started working with Extension. And it just seemed like so much fun. That was something that I wanted to do as a reward just for myself, right? Just for fun. It didn't have anything to do with work. It didn't have anything to do with anything like that. And so I joined their garden club for a little while, and I learned several of their techniques, if you will. And so I valued all the things that I learned from them. And there were some other really neat designs that I wish that I could have shown y'all tonight, but I couldn't find any pictures of them. They create these different categories each month, and they'll say, okay, so this month we're the design is underwater design, and when they come to their meeting they bring an arrangement that's underwater, or they say this month is I'm just trying to think of ones that I participated in, tea for two, and you create your floral design either in a teapot or 2 teacups, or you see what I'm saying? So they just come up with these creative, challenging ways for you to stretch your mind and think of how you can use flowers and design with them. And I just think it's really a fun concept, and wanted to kind of expose you all to that in case you had never been exposed to it. And then, so now we're going to talk a little bit about how I'm just trying to make this very accessible to everyone and help folks realize how I don't want to say easy because it does take effort, but how nearly everyone, if you are a gardener, can participate in any of our arrangement projects. So we do arrangements for RIFA on a weekly basis, and we do arrangements for the Helping Hands in Humboldt on a weekly basis. And I mean, if enough people become interested in it, I feel like that is an outreach that we could probably expand and use that in different formats. And I feel like we would just have to look outside the box. But Miss Patricia Lewis sends me pictures of her designs when she does them for the Helping Hands in Humboldt. And so I have lots of these pictures very easily accessible to me. So thank you, Miss Patricia, for the pictures. And then this kind of walks us through the seasons just from this year. And so I just want folks to realize, you know, you don't have to have a dedicated quote unquote cut flower garden in order to have really quality, beautiful displays. These arrangements that we do for those projects are very small. You know, they're table vases. Some of them use tall, slender ones, some use short ones. I mean, there are vases you can choose, essentially is what I'm saying, which vases you'd like to use. And this one in particular, this was from early in the spring. That is a viburnum bloom, I believe. Not sure what that, spirea, a white spirea, probably the Bridalveil, that old fashioned one. Then we've got Solomon's seal possibly there. So, you know, just look around your garden. These can be perennials that you don't even, may not have even ever thought about using Solomon's seal in an arrangement. And so, you know, I'm not saying copy these, I'm just trying to spur some creativity in our minds. This was one of my favorites here on the left, a more recent arrangement. She just used some coleus leaves, two simple, very simple zinnia blooms. And then this right here, this is abelia right here, a bloom from an abelia. And then this is zebra grass. Do you remember when zebra grass was so popular? It was so cool. And now I feel like I don't ever see it anymore. But man, it can be really striking in an arrangement. So I thought that was a fun one to include. You know, so if you have a pot, even, I mean, you've got a pot on your porch and it's overgrown. I don't know if you're like me, I'm a pot packer. I'm also a vase packer. You'll see, I feel like I put way too much stuff in there. Most of my pots need a haircut, right? So I could just use some of that material and incorporate it into arrangements. This one on the right was also one from earlier in the spring. And again, you'll see how she repeats use of plants that she has a lot of. And so that's what I'm trying to encourage you all to do. Look around and see what you can use. I think this is a mock orange bloom down at the bottom. We've got some pink spirea tucked in there, raguchi blooms. And I also like how these arrangements kind of point out that it doesn't take a lot of plant material to make a really pretty arrangement. You can have just that, form or that shape can really create a lot of interest. And then I think this is like Japanese grass, this tall stuff right here, that can be a bit invasive. So only plant that in a spot where you've got lots of room. That's just a different view on the same arrangement, or, you know, should you do like several of them? So it might be another one, but in the same batch. This was another early spring arrangement. Just use some daffodils and azalea blooms. Have you ever thought about just taking a little branch of azalea? You know it's fixing to come a storm and you don't want those blooms to waste. Just go out and snip off 10 or 12 of them, stick them in a bud vase, and you can mix those to make some really attractive arrangements. We've got buttercups, and then I think that's viburnum as well. That green kind of bloom there. Oh, this one's fun. So this is the river oats, or some people call them like Indian northern sea oats. There you go. We've got sunflowers down here at the base, more of that Solomon seal. Again, just repeating things that are we have on hand and are easy to use from the garden. And it looks different in each of these instances when we've used them. I mean, you wouldn't say, oh, that's just the same old thing over and over. It looks completely different every time you mix the combination up. This was in early spring, daffodils. I'm not sure what this white blooming thing is up in here. Maybe mock orange again, possibly. Snowdrops right here with the little green dots on their petals. Really pretty combinations. Oh, and then I included this one because I thought this was cool. So this was actually we were still in winter and daffodils hadn't even really begun to come out yet. But she had a lot of akuba on hand and some asparagus fern that she overwintered in the greenhouse, but she didn't have anything blooming. And so she just went to Kroger, bought a $4 bundle of carnations, and I really think that that's a stunning small table arrangement just by adding a few of those colorful blooms to some foliage, interesting foliage that she already had. Again, using some abelia, this are hydrangea pieces, black-eyed Susans, those sea oats again. And this is one of Jason's. I had to take a picture of him from Dr. Cross's. I think this one, yeah, this one was from Dr. Cross's retirement reception that we had. And I just love the combination of things that he used here. That Rebecca Hirta with the really big, large blooms. You can see some dark purple coleus leaves in there. That white flame salvia we've been talking so much about, and gomphrena. Just lots of things going on in here. But the colors complement each other and the textures do as well. And so that's really what makes it all work. And again, repeating some of those same flowers, abelia, hydrangea, coleus, some tall blades of grass. I've even used blades of gladiolus. Like sometimes I don't get my gladiolus pulled up and then they make little baby bulblets, and then they send up all those like grassy, spiky things. And I feel bad pulling them out. So I just use them for foliage and arrangements. They work pretty good. already had that one in there, I believe. Oh, okay. And now, so we're moving on from that. I know that some of you attended the Gardener's Toolshed class that I did several weeks ago about cut flower arrangement. So that actually started back in April. We had a class on how to start your own cut flower garden. That was through the Gardener's Toolshed series that I teach. And so we kind of tried to carry that through. I thought for those who participated and kind of followed some of the things that we taught, now would be a good time of year to show them how they could use some of those things. However, it was one of those do as I say, not as I do's, right? So I did not get my own cut flower garden planted in time. So when I had planned to have the class, I didn't actually have a lot of my own annual cut flower material that I normally would have had ready for that time of year. So I just went out in my garden and collected cuts from perennials and woody shrubs. And so when we started the class, I was like, I know this is a little different than what we expected this class to be on, but this is the plant material I had on hand. And so we're going to roll with it. And these are all the arrangements that we ended up being able to make from the things that we collected from the garden. And I feel like people were really surprised. They were like, you got all that stuff just from a turn around the garden. And it was completely unintentional, right? I was not growing these plants in order to make beautiful arrangements, but I just wanted to show you how you actually can surprise yourself sometimes. So you can't beat simple. I'm all for simple, right? So zinnias, one of my favorite. Just pack them in a vase, and they'll always be stunning. I'm also not the best photographer, and I do not consider myself any kind of like amazing flower arranger either. So most of these are going to be pretty wild and woolly, but that is the aesthetic that I like. That's what my garden looks like. That's what the inside of my house looks like, wild and woolly. So here I've got a combination. We've got Cosmos sulphureus in here, just your regular black-eyed Susans. I'm trying to remember. I think this back here in the back is Amsonia. Yeah, threadleaf Amsonia. And then I stuck a few zinnias in there because I had a few that were super, super short, and I hated to throw them away because they were so beautiful. So I just stuck them there in the bottom. And then Shasta daisies, of course. So again, oh, and then I tried, you see these little seed heads right here? Those were Cosmos, but I bent the ones that actually had blooms on them on accident because they gotten all tangled up, and all that was left were the spent heads. So I snipped off the blooms and left the heads just as kind of an interest thing. And I think it worked. Oh, here, you know, I talk about Abelia so much, y'all, and I know you probably, some people just don't even care for it that much, but I just love it, and it's so pretty, and I cannot keep myself from putting it in arrangements. And so I used it kind of as the base to, like it would have been pretty all on its own, even if I hadn't added anything else in there. But then when I started adding other things, it kind of acted as a placeholder, if you will, you know, to keep things from shifting and falling around. So I stuck a little cluster of black-eyed Susans and did a little 3 zinnias down there at the base, those peppermint stripe zinnias, and one of my favorite purpley ones, and I think it turned out okay. Cosmos, Rudbeckia, some salvia. Most of my salvia was past peak. You can see even the calyx had begun to fall off, but that's all I had, and so I used it. And then in the back, you can't really see, but in the back of that, I had put some Florida Sunshine Elysium. There you go. And just because I really like the smell of it, and I love that bright yellow color. And Jason does a really good job of making arrangements that can be viewed from like all sides, but I have a severe tendency to design things that only look nice from one side. So I have to work on that. But if you're into floral design, they intentionally design things to be viewed from one side. So that might be my knack. I might need to go into that, a little more of that. And then I just wanted to show you, gosh, how big these phantom hydrangea blooms were, bigger than my head. I had to take a picture of it. I was afraid people wouldn't believe me because I got a pretty large head. But yes, so I had all these humongous hydrangea blooms and no idea what to do with them. They can be very difficult to use in arrangements, but you want to use them because they're so gorgeous. So again, I went out and cut some limbs off of my Amsonia hubrichtii, that thread leaf one, and it had actually began to make seed pods, and you couldn't tell it in this picture. They were a little further down here. But if you let those seed pods develop a little more, they probably are doing it right now, they can be pretty prominent and be a really neat addition to an arrangement. So just keep that in mind. But I went big with it, right? I used a big tall vase. I left lots of the foliage on the bottom to help even out the weight distribution. I used a vase that had a fluted top to try to help kind of balance it because they could fall over very easily. And then just stuck in that Amsonia just to kind of lighten things up a little bit. And I think it worked. So just some ideas on how to use those. Ogon spirea right here coming out of the front of that vase. The flowers are looking a little crazy. I did not strip as many of the leaves off of it probably as I should have, but I included this picture just because I wanted to encourage you to look at using some of your woody shrubs that you have in your landscape. Take a few cuttings off them. Sometimes they can get wild and woolly, and you can take a snip off here and a snip off there and add it to an arrangement to really bring it to life. I like to have things sometimes that kind of spill over. That's another thing I learned from that garden club. They try to create balance, and it doesn't all have to be up here in formal balance like we think. It can go across the vertices and, you know, hang down to the bottom too and still feel balanced. That was the same one, just a little crazier picture. Oh, and then I wanted to encourage you, don't overlook some of your foliage plants. Hostas, I cut these leaves 3 weeks ago. They look perfect. They're still in my kitchen on the counter. Ferns, that was from an autumn fern. Cut that 3 weeks ago, still looking great. So you can display those on their own for really big impact, or you can incorporate them in other fashions. Just pretty pictures of plants I wanted to show y'all. Shasta daisy, crepe myrtle. There was a big rainstorm right before I did that class, and I had a lot of, my crepe myrtle was hanging over like this, and so they were easier to reach, and I was able to use those in an arrangement. So this is how I'm going to wrap it up. This is my favorite one out of all the ones I made. I still had several of those really big hydrangea blooms. I had tons of abelia, which I love. I had those big light pink crepe myrtle blooms I was just telling you about, and incorporated some of those autumn ferns as well. And I really loved, I feel like the container might be what made this arrangement. It kind of has a wicker pedestal foot down there at the bottom, and a clear kind of fluted top. And I just loved how this arrangement came out. It was huge. It was probably 2 feet tall. So this isn't something that you would likely put on your kitchen table. It would have probably looked better in a, you know, an entryway or somewhere where you weren't trying to look through it to talk to other people. But I wanted to get some pictures from the top. So I set it down on the ground, and I feel like it just really helped show off all the plant material that I used in there. I showed him to Jason because I was so proud of it. And he was like, that is like so Southern living. I was like, I know, right? I was just like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, look what I did. That was so cool. And so I just tried to get pictures from lots of different angles so you could enjoy it as much as I did. And then this is my closing picture. I'll say, when you do all this stuff as you're fixing to see here, and if you do it in your house, you're gonna make a huge mess. There's gonna be stuff everywhere. It's gonna be wet. There's gonna be bugs. That's a leaf hopper. I had some crickets that I caught in there a few days later. I mean, it was just a mess. So cool. So that's all I have. And so now we're gonna just do some like live demo stuff. Folks who are online, hang on. I'm gonna swap over and I'm gonna video with my phone so you can see up close what we're doing, okay?
Celeste and I are going to kind of do this together, so she'll just jump in. I want to start out just talking a little bit about maybe the way things used to be done and the way we do them today, and just different techniques. If you're not familiar with this is called, well, it's called Oasis. It's actually wet foam, but Oasis is kind of like saying Kleenex or Coke, or you know what we're talking about. So Oasis is actually a brand, and so this is what's used a lot today in arrangements that are not necessarily in a vase. You know, if it's a casket spray, or the spray on the wire stand, or maybe in a container like this bowl, which I'm going to use here in a few minutes, just this bowl out of the kitchen here. You can use something like the foam. But before that, before foam was invented, there were all other methods, and this is one called, there's frogs. There's different kinds of frogs. This is I call a pincushion frog. Thanks to Peggy Allen for bringing these. I have probably 200 or 300 of the pincushion type, and probably 200 or 300 of the glass ones, you know, the glass rounds that had the holes in them, they sit on top of a vase. And I don't have as many as these unique ones like this that Peggy brought, but maybe 50 or so kind of unique ones. But I have a lot.
I don't have many.
You know, my theory with anything, if you've got enough of it, it's interesting. So when I do build my house here in a year and a half or so, I've got to figure out how to display all these. Right now, they're mostly in my Chester drawers at my house, which if you've been to my house and I've showed it, you have to sit down on the floor, like put my feet against the drawers and like pull out, and I hope I can get them back in. But yeah, this predates, and they're still being made, you can buy it today, but this is one of the things that was used, and there's lots of other things you could wad up wire, put down the vase, and then run your flowers through it. But
that seems so simple. I never thought.
Yeah, just the water, like chicken wire down in the vase. But yeah, these are still being made, and if you do the darling, tell me if I'm saying it wrong, ikebana, which is a form of flower arrangement, you definitely use these, and very simple. And I mean, sometimes it's this with a simple leaf and an iris coming up in a shallow bowl. So. But yeah, this is a really cool one here. This one might have been, I don't know, Peggy, I have a feeling a lot of these were made for a candle. The candle would have stuck in here, and then used, I mean, of course, this is heavy. I don't know if this one's lead or not, but some of them were lead. But a lot of them were for candles, and then the flowers went around them as well. But this one is so beautiful. I can't imagine covering this with plants up. But thank you, Peggy, for bringing these. You know, of course, I buy these at antique stores and wherever, and oftentimes they think they're soap dishes. They'll put, like, you'll see in the antique store, they'll have like a quick bar of soap on it, or I even see pencils stuck in there, which does work for pencils, but anyway. So if anybody have any of these in your possession, you want to leave in your will, let me know, I'll take them. The Sams did leave me probably 50 or more of the glass ones. They used those glass ones for their marbles, like Sam collecting marbles, and they set the marbles on top of there. So anyway. But so then as we move forward, I don't know when Oasis was invented, but the wet foam kind of took its place. You know, occasionally I still will find a piece in an antique store where it was a shallow bowl with the green goopy stuff stuck in the bottom, and you can never get that out. But again, that predated the Oasis. You can imagine if you had to pay for this in a flower arrangement today, you know, compared to what this cost, it would add a lot to the expense of a flower arrangement. So I don't know if the florist requested you bring them back or how that worked, but anyway, just a fun little bit. So just a little bit about the wet foam or Oasis. If you've not used it before, I primarily use this at Christmas time when I'm making Christmas arrangements. I don't use it so much for cut flower arrangements, but I do quite a bit at Christmas time with greenery. It needs to be fresh. Sometimes I'll have some left over Christmas, and the following Christmas it doesn't absorb the water very well, so you certainly don't want to keep it for a long time.
I will say it would have been very useful had I had some when I did that hydrangea arrangement. So things that have lots of weight and are very heavy, that would have been helpful, but it didn't happen. So
a tip on hydrating the Oasis is you really need to fill the container with water and drop it down in there and let it sink on its own. You don't want to put it down in there and pour water. Or I have made the mistake, like when I'm making a bunch, I'll put it down in my tub sink in my utility room and turn the water on. Well, you don't want water to hit on top of this because it forms air pockets in there, and it will never actually fully absorb water. And again, when it gets old, it doesn't, it forms air pockets. So it's better to set it on top of the water and let it flow. Some brands will actually have a direction on there, which side to put down, up and down, but most times they don't. I typically buy mine at Walmart. Oftentimes, you have to go a couple of times because kids like to push their fingers in it. And so you'll go and it'll be all beat up. So you got to go dig behind and see if you can find some. But anyway, I do use that. It's not, you can reuse it, but once you've stuck many flowers in there, it begins to break apart. Also, if you use it and you've stuck a stem in there and it's in the wrong place, don't pull it out. Just cut it off and re-stick it, because when you pull it out, it weakens the structure of the foam. So keep that in mind. So I'm gonna do, I don't know, we're just kind of winging this tonight. So if you get tired, leave. I'm sorry. If you get bored.
This is the tips and tricks section. So we're just talking about, our tips and tricks. So before we move on to something else, let me tell you about one of my tricks that I like to use. I didn't bring any with me, but it's not going to be hard for you to stretch your imagination with this. So just regular, clear gift wrapping tape. When I'm using a vase, imagine this, but probably bigger. I probably wouldn't need it for this one. But when you get much larger and you have a vase that has a really large opening at the top and you're putting stuff in, it's just falling all around everywhere. And you don't have a frog, or you don't have something stuck in the bottom like the wire. That would have been an excellent idea. But I just take that clear gift wrap tape and make some grids just across the top. And you can't see it. It blends right in. Make sure you get the clear kind, not the opaque looking kind, because then that looks janky. And then as you start arranging, it's flexible. So it'll fold in on itself. At first you'll say, well, I only have these little bitty square openings everywhere. But as you get things in there and wiggle them around, that tape will move around for you. So that's a trick that I use sometimes.
When you're working with the Oasis, it's easy to cut with just a butter knife. I didn't even bring a knife in here tonight, so I'm using my printers, which is not ideal. But it slices it's best to slice it after it's wet. It's easier once it's wet. But I just trimmed this down a little bit to fit my bowl. You do want to set on the bottom. If it's top heavy, using some tape, of course they make floral tape as well, will keep it from falling out. This one should be all right here. And I typically, again, I would not use it in a vase like this because you're going to see it, but also you don't need it. You've got this vase shape, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But when you're doing something bowl shaped like this, you definitely helps out. So, yeah, I'm going to grab just some random things, and I don't plan ahead for arrangements. Obviously, today neither Celeste and I today didn't go as we had planned, neither one of us. So I was still gathering stuff just before we started. Yeah, I think I'm actually gonna use coleus. And yesterday, I didn't get home till late yesterday, and I needed to run to a neighbor's house who was a little under the weather, and to pick up something. I thought, well, I'm gonna take her arrangement. Well, I went out in my garden, and I don't plant my garden at home, my annuals, until late June. And so nothing was really looking great yesterday. So I've got lots of coleus, and I just went out and grabbed 3 stems of 5 different kinds of coleus, and it turned out fantastic. And it roots and it'll last forever. I mean, she'll get a month out of it easily. And if it roots, you can plant it if you want to. But so what I'm going to do with this Oasis, and again, I probably don't have the best thing in here that I'm going to use, but I'm just kind of going to cover it up with these stems of coleus. And then once I've got that form there, then I'll just start sticking things in. So while I'm doing that, Celeste will.
Yeah. So wish we had 2 of these. We're just going to share. So. Oh, we might could. Well, it's okay. I don't want it to get wet. Yeah. So while Jason was saying you don't really want to see that Oasis in a vase, I agree. And if you are ever a part of one of these garden clubs or join a floral arrangement show, which we have many of, did y'all know that? There's a floral show hosted in Bells nearly every year by their garden club association. There's one in Mineland by the Elizabeth Stone Garden Club. There's one in Gibson, hosted by the Gibson Garden Club. So we have lots of floral shows going on around. But one of the things is that you have, the mechanisms cannot be visible. So you have to hide all that stuff. So if you were going to use floral, wet foam, and you had a clear vase or something like that, They taught me a few tips and tricks that you can do to kind of hide all of that. One of those would be to use a really big piece of foliage to kind of be along the outside of the container. Does that make sense? So you just take it, roll it up, stick it in there, and sometimes it can be tricky because you don't want to tear it because then that looks, you know, kind of tacky too. So you just slowly kind of work your way around that and expand it. And you might have to get, you know, a little stick or something like wrap. I know some of them will like wrap cotton balls around a little stick to help maneuver things around without breaking it. And then, of course, when you get the water in there, that'll help to push things out. And I'm not actually going to put a piece of foam in here, but say that you were using lights or you know, they have those little battery powered lights. You can use those to make a really big impact in arrangements. It seems so weird, but just try it with something like this and you'll be amazed at how cool it is. They even make ones that'll work underwater. So if you wanted to do one of those underwater arrangements, you could put those in there. So that's that's just a neat little trick on how you could hide some of your mechanisms in your arrangements. And while you're doing that, I'm gonna run and go get, I brought some floral wire and some floral tape. I'm gonna get
that. So I'm going to jump back to where we should have before I started doing this talking. When you're cutting flowers, it's best to cut in the morning or in the evening. The heat of the day is not the best time. And today, Celeste cut some stuff about 3 o'clock, I guess, and we got back from wholesale florist. And it's here, and it's kind of, it will recover, and I thought it would have recovered before now, but this is some things that were cut in the heat of the day. And if we'd recut them and got in, we ran out of time today, they would have definitely perked back up. But it's best to do it early in the morning when it's cooler, again in the afternoon. I cut these around 6 o'clock today, right in front of the flagpole, walked right in here and stuck them in water. And they're looking fine. So the temperature had already dropped, so that makes a difference. But you know, get them in water as soon as you can. And also you want to remove bottom foliage or foliage that's down below the water when you're doing that. And then you know, recutting as you go, like I've been recutting this, but just, you know, if you don't get in the water right away, you definitely want to recut it when you get in the house and get it in lukewarm water, and that will help a lot. Make them last longer. I don't ever do any preservatives. I know there's aspirin and there's Sprite and there's the little sachets that come in your arrangement. If you've got that, use it. I never do that. Maybe I should, but I don't.
Actually, there's some science behind that if you want to know about that real quickly. While he's doing whatever he's doing. So there is a little bit of science behind floral preservatives. So typically they contain 3 basic ingredients. One of those is some type of acid, so like citric acid, which you could buy like in a powdered form, or you could just use like fresh lemon juice, fresh lime juice to provide that citric acid content. And you may be thinking, well, what in the world does that do? That acid helps lower the pH of the water. And when your pH in your water is lower, it will be accepted more readily into the phloem of your cuts. So as long as your cuts are fresh, the water is going to more easily move up through those stems and hydrate the blooms. Does that make sense? So that's what the citric acid portion does. Also, there's usually some form of sugar or carbohydrate in there, and basically that is to help make sure that you have enough nutrition in your blooms for them to fully open. A lot of our blooms are cut at very precise times, so think of like a gladiolus bloom. Those need to be harvested when only the very 2 bottom buds have begun to show color and open up. And if you harvest them before that point, they won't have enough sugar in them to fully open the entire spike. Does that make sense? So when we're adding sugar to those, when sugar in the floral preservative is just to help make sure that there's enough energy there for those blooms to fully open. And then the third ingredient is some type of biocide. So that could be like hydrogen peroxide. or something of that nature to help kill fungal diseases and things like that would develop in the water. Because where do they want to develop? In warm, room temperature water that has sugar in it. It's the perfect breeding ground for bacteria and fungus. So when we include that biocide, that just could help make your blooms last longer and perform their best. So that's the science behind floral preservative.
All right, again, I didn't really have a plan, so I'm just winging it. I actually plan to use all this. I just pulled out a base together, not this one, but I think I'm gonna make it work with this coleus maybe. So mixing, actually, I'm gonna be mixing plants out of the garden and then stuff from the forest as well. So I've got my base here. I've just used this coleus in the oasis to kind of help cover that oasis up. With the oasis, when you get finished with the arrangement, to me the easiest way to water arrangement in oasis, set it down in the sink, and just have a stream of water run down the center so it fills up, let it sit there a minute, tilt it on its side, let it drain just a little bit, and then draw off the bottom, obviously move it where you want to. And with oasis, you need to check it every day. Of course, depending on the size of your container, it may drink it really fast. And I know when I do cut Christmas greenery, the arrangements I do, that greenery will drink water, that first day or two, it'll drink that water within 24 hours, and then after it's in 3 or 4 days, it slows down on that. So again, I don't really have a plan. I'm just going to start sticking with some things we got here, and I'm going to make this arrangement fairly short. Love Status, one of my favorite cut flowers. I've not been successful growing. I know Susan has managed to grows a little bit and does fair in her garden, but if you ever see it out in an area out in California or Arizona, it's just beautiful. So again, I don't know what I'm really doing. I'm just playing, and that's part of it. Just play with it, and there are times that last week, the week before now, I had to make 12 arrangements for Dr. Cross's retirement here, and I had to make them the day before because I was leaving for the Chicago trip, and then a week or two before that, I had to do the arrangements for Carol Reese's retirement, and again, I wasn't going to be here, so I had to make them. I made them that morning, and had to leave that afternoon. But sometimes, I don't know. I just gather a whole bunch of stuff up and just start playing around with it. And every once in a while, again, this is not when I'm using Oasis, but if I'm using a base like this, I'll get almost through with it, and I'm like, I can't stand it, and I just pull it off, start all over. But normally, if you just keep sticking, by the time you get done. Right now, this thing's hideous, but hopefully here in a few minutes, it'll be acceptable. So yeah, the status, and I think this is Daisy Fleabane Origeron. Again, we bought all this at the wholesale florist today. If you've never been to a wholesale florist, well, good luck, because I like people coming. It is truly wholesale. This is only the 3rd time they've ever let me come. I did some arrangements for the president of the university here one time, and they let me come, and then one other time. But
and they did. We called ahead, and she expected us, and we came when it was convenient for them, and it was great, and they were glad we were there, and we had a great time too.
But if we had not been with the university,
yeah,
there's no sign on the door. It's strictly. But anyway, we bought these again. I had been twice before, but I'd never been in both coolers. Today, the coolers were probably from here to the wall. It may be almost, maybe not quite that wide, but just tons and tons of flowers, and they were cold. We were freezing in no time, and pretty much all cut flowers now come from Central and South America, and just a little bit. They did say there's some niche
greenery in California.
Yeah, greenery in California. So with COVID, there's been some because of. Well, those growers ended up having to bulldoze stuff in the very beginning because there was no market for it there for a couple months, and so they got behind, I guess, on replanting, and so there's been some little niche markets. They told us, like, was it sunflowers coming out of Florida?
Yeah.
Little specialty growers, which is kind of neat. That's come around since COVID, but most of that is flown in the United States. It's not in water. It's shipped it's shipped cold, packed cold, and shipped on airplanes, overnighted. And when it gets, of course, to the here I know it lands in Memphis, and then Metro Florist, the wholesale florist, has a location in Memphis, and then of course there's one here, and so. It comes quick, but keeping it, it's very climate controlled. Today, they even offered, they want to know if they want to ice down the roses. And we're like, well, no, we're just going down the road. But,
I was like, yes, please.
I didn't know that was an option, but I wish.
We got buckets.
Yeah, I wish I had not unbundled the roses before you got here. I couldn't believe how they were packed. They were 24, but you could only see 12 at the top, and then this cardboard wrapped around them. When you open them up, then there was 12 more layered in there. It was crazy. I wish I had not undone those. But again, those were all flown in from Central and South America. The biggest flower market in the world is in Holland, and it's, somebody help me, all or something like that. It's incredible. It's an auction house for cut flowers, and you get online and watch it. And when COVID hit, there were like mountains of cut flowers the size of this room. They're bulldozing in piles because everything stopped. It was kind of.
And now you said that freight from Holland is so high. That's another thing that's kind of spurring these smaller niche heat markets like within the United States to grow things, because while they have them, they're still behind the curve, right? Because they had to get rid of so much material, and then the freight is so high. So they've got two things going against them. Crazy.
Once COVID kind of got, well, I guess, well, he said Mother's Day, and I assume he meant Mother's Day last year. By the time Mother's Day rolled around, we figured out we had to stay at home, and we needed to send our mothers flowers, I guess. And Mother's Day, he said it was incredible, most they'd ever sold. They would actually sold everything out of the warehouse. And then
He took a picture of the empty coolers. Literally every bloom they had was gone.
And then sadly, he went on to say that, of course, the funerals have just, and we're not attending funerals so much, but apparently still so many funerals and flowers going out. Yeah, anyway, so the yellow was, somebody tell me what the yellow is. Yeah, goldenrod. So that brightens up the arrangement there. So goldenrod's native to the United States. Of course, grows all over the road, side of the road here, and we get it gets blamed for hay fever, which is actually ragweed. Thank you. It's because the pollen on goldenrod is too big for you to actually to suck in your sinuses. And so, but they've worked some hybridizing, and we're supposed to be getting one in a couple of weeks to plug in Fireworks, which is an older cultivar, and hopefully we'll have it at the fall sale. But that's goldenrod, and then I love these little, I don't know, called bouquet roses, I guess, but just going to tuck, I actually only brought two up here, but I'm just going to tuck these couple in with it. And so, as I mentioned, when this begins to fade, if flowers begin to fade, it's best not to like pull them out. Just reach down there with your clippers and cut it out and leave that stem down in there, because again, it can mess with the integrity of the arrangement. And I really need a couple more bundles of these roses, but
just look at it from one side.
yeah. So I could stop at that. I could keep playing around. I've got some eucalyptus here, but I think I'm going to add a few sunflowers to it and see what that does. Oh.
Let me show them a little trick while you're doing that. So, the queen of the tips and tricks here. I ran and got this wire and my floral tape because I wanted to make sure that y'all just knew that this was a thing, okay? So I can get pretty rough with my plants sometimes when I'm harvesting them, trying to get them inside. And occasionally I have a beautiful little flower who breaks his neck. And then it's not so pretty anymore, is it? But it can, I know, but he can still last in, in an arrangement for a while. You give them a fresh cut in your water, make sure you got some preservative in there. And if you want to help them stand back up, and a lot of, well, they might not do it so much anymore, but I remember it, a lot of the, professional florists would do this on their roses, like regardless, just to make sure that the stems and the heads are really, really strong. But you can take your wire, kind of stick it into the neck, if you will, of that bloom, kind of push until you feel some resistance. So the resistance from that center part of the flower. And then just ever so gently begin to kind of spiral that wire down around the stem. And that gives you a little extra reinforcement. And if for some reason you didn't like looking at that wire, you could take floral tape or florist tape. It's kind of fun. I just like it. It sticks to itself. It's kind of like that stuff, that the nurses use to help put on when you get your blood taken, it's kind of like that. and do the same thing. You just, it sticks onto itself, you pull it a little bit and it stretches, takes some of those crinkles. You can tell it's got kind of a crepey texture. And I also just kind of like the way it feels in my fingers. It feels kind of gummy. I don't know if that's weird. I just like the texture of it. And so you can see I'm just spinning the flour and moving that tape down, 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 down. So it's kind of like I gave him a little cast. And I'm not going to use Jason's clippers to cut off this wire. Oh, it has a wire
They're
cutter.
actually better. Yeah, these are Velcros and they have a little notch in the back made for cutting wire. So we'll find that on cheaper printers. But yeah.
Excellent. I'm doing it. Done. And now that little guy's ready to go in a back somewhere.
So yeah, I guess I hadn't paid much attention. Well, I hadn't been to a funeral in quite a while myself, but I always pay attention to flowers when I go to funerals. It's terrible, but anyway, I think the better for is still on the roses in a spray, casket spray. That's on the casket or even beside it. Still do the wire, and then the better ones. Of course, you may pay more for it. Those roses are in individual vials of water. I haven't seen those personally in a while, but I think they're still the better, more expensive arrangements.
So these floral designs, they will use those little vials,
Picks.
those picks, those little water picks, very often. But again, they have to be concealed, right? That's the whole trick, is that they want you to wonder, how is that flower living?
Tell me what this plant is. Somebody? Seed pods off of.
A lily.
Speak up.
Lily.
Blackberry lily. Blackberry lily. I cut these in the monkey grass out here earlier. So yeah, I'm just going to add these. So these are from here, and this will open up. It'll be black on the inside with the fruit, so it's blackberry lily. But yeah, this just adds a little. To me, chartreuse just adds so much to arrangement. But yeah, seed pods and yeah, even seed pods off of daylily would be fine in arrangement. So just adding a few of these in here for a little bit more pizzazz. So yeah, so that's. I mean, you could call it quits. I feel like it needs a little something right. Well, actually, yes. So pull this thing off, I'll be in trouble. I'm going to add a little bit of grass maybe to it for just a little bit of spikiness.
So ornamental grasses like miscanthus.
Darlene has a question.
All right, darling.
I'm curious about the, how you decide on the color combination, because I'm seeing primary, secondary, neutral, but also complementary colors that feed off each other, so I think the color choice.
Yeah, I'm not good with explaining that, but I feel like if you would wear it, you could put it in a vase. if you would paint your walls and have your curtains that color, you could put it in a vase. So, but it's all. I mean, it's what you like. I mean, you got a tie-dye shirt on to dye, so you could have a tie-dye arrangement. So yeah, I don't know about. I studied all that, but I forgot all that a long time ago.
I don't know about that either, but I think that you'll notice, for those who come back for the flower workshop tomorrow, that you'll see I had a pretty strong influence on the colors of the plants that we picked. There's a lot of my favorite colors. So purple, the hot pinks, bright pinks. I feel bad that we didn't get more red. So if you like red, you might want to use, maybe you could take a few clippings of celosia from here somewhere, or bring something red maybe from your garden tomorrow. And yeah, we've got plenty of stuff. So if you're not signed up for tomorrow and you still want to come, you can come. Believe me, I'm gonna have a sign-in sheet. Like, I'm gonna track everyone who comes, just like that way we know who all came tonight.
This is a little bit wild. I would like this grass to be maybe 6 inches shorter, but I can't really cut it much shorter because it's not a stem that'll fall apart. But you kind of get the idea. Although I kind of like fun and funky, so that's a little funky. But anyway, yeah. So, and you can keep playing, but it's really not hard, but you got to do it. Now, I will say, I don't like for the office front. I mean, they kind of expect you to arrangements here. I don't get asked anymore. It's just like I get copied on the email. We need arrangements. Like, oh, okay. Anyway, sometimes doing it on demand is not fun. If I had to do this for a living, I don't think I would like it. So I feel like sometimes I have to be in the mood, or I'm just out in the garden and get inspiration. But when I'm forced, sometimes it's not as fun. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty proud of that. But those roses, let me tell you. Ethan and Trevor asked me today what my favorite cut flower was. I don't really have one, but I was like, we were standing at all these cut flowers. Like, boy, at the moment, it's this right here. I love this color. So, and yeah, this coleus, I mean, I had no idea I was going to do this, but I think it worked really well with it. So I'm going to move this one to the side. And again, this is in a soup bowl out of the cabinet here. Your container can be anything. My preference for a vase is I actually don't really have one I really like here. I don't like one that's got a neck quite this top, but I don't like one that's flowered quite this much either. But this next one I'm going to attempt to do in. I think I'll just go with this. Maybe. Yeah, I really need that for this bigger stuff, but I don't know. Didn't. And I'll. Excuse me. One thing I feel like when I'm doing arrangements, I feel like I always cut enough and I never have enough. It takes so much more than you think. Oh, I mean, like 2 or 3 times as much more than you might think. So, you know, I don't know if I'm going to use all this, but perhaps, and that looks like a lot. And, you know, that's not too bad, just like that. And again, I walked to the flagpole out there at 6 o'clock and they're snipping away on this. And so, you know, having good plants makes it quite an advantage. Well, this is Prestige Scarlet Celosia. This is an all-America selection winner probably 20 years ago, and I love Celosia. I hadn't grown this in a long time, and I was looking through the catalog, you know, back in January, February, and I was like, I want to grow that Celosia again, so I ordered it. I love Celosia. This is plume Celosia here. This is fresh look gold, there's fresh look yellow, and fresh look red. So I always grow, you will always see this in the gardens here and in my house. It's just great for cut flowers. You know, Celosia is a great pollinator plant for attracting the pollinators to the garden. And then they will reseed for you, sometimes more than you would like in the garden. But anyway, I'm going to use these. You notice I'm just stripping some of the bottom leaves off. You don't want the foliage below the water because, you know, this is going to deteriorate much quicker than the stem itself and start breaking down in the water and get yucky. Another tip, and again, we should be tonight, but it's dumping out the water. I mean, if you change the water every day, that would also really help. And then you can recut, I never get around to that, but you can recut the arrangement each time you dump the water out. But cleaning that water out will certainly help. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to start with. For me, the hardest part is figuring out the first couple plants to put in the base that kind of helps hold it in place. But actually, I think I'll start with this salvia. So this is white flame salvia. We sell this at the spring sale. This is from Ball Flora Plant, and it's a Farinaceae type salvia. Not meant to be hardy. It all came back in the garden here this year. It also seeded in the berms out there. So I think I'm going to start with a little bit of this, just to kind of, oh, maybe not. Maybe not. Yeah. Here's one that doesn't have a curve in the stem. So, but I do like to have some, you know, like some branching down in there, because that kind of helps hold your other plants. So again, I'm pulling those leaves off, but I'm leaving some of that branch. I'm going to shorten that just a little bit more. So that kind of gets me started. So as mentioned in our talk, sometimes you end up with too much foliage wadded in here, and I'm bad about that. I'll leave too much, and then when I get done, it's just it's wide down here. So pulling some of that out is helpful. That last arrangement you showed, that's fantastic. Very much so. What abelia is that?
Oh, that is just like Canyon Creek, I think.
Okay, yeah, Canyon Creek's a good big. I'm not a big abelia fan, but I'm coming around to some of them.
The one that gets big, right? It's not the middle ones. This is like the big, flowy, hanging over.
So there's the white flame salvia that's going in first. This is basil. Oh, good grief! This is the old basil. Purple Ruffles basil. Yeah, I don't know that I really have what I need for this, but we're going to play around with it anyway and see.
Oh, so another neat little tip, when you are out there harvesting your flowers, you know, Jason's talking about, you need to put them in the water. It's important that you want to make your cut and put them directly in water. Don't cut them and think, oh, well, I'll carry this bouquet around and go inside and put them in water. You really need to have water with you. You need to be doing it during a cooler part of the day. And then also keep in mind what flowers you are putting together in that water. So, for example, Asclepias is beautiful. You know, milkweed you can use. Cuts of annual milkweed. Oh, look, you can see the seed pods on that.
Yeah, she mentioned Amsonia in her presentation, the seed pods, and I kind of feel like this is like chin hair or something.
Yeah. So, one time I didn't, all I were the seed pods, and I just clipped off all the feather stuff. I clipped that off. And I just used these as a little, you know, like a cute thing, kind of how we used the seed pods in the other arrangement, you know. So anyway, so think about what you're putting in the water together. So like Asclepias, when you cut it, it has like a milky, you know, sap that comes out of it, and that can actually be bad for the other plants and kind of get in the water, make it murky, clog up the phloem of those other cuts. So it would be best to put those by themselves. And then I just learned of this new trick. You can actually take them out, dry them off, and sear the ends of them with like a lighter to burn them and keep that latexy, milky sap inside. The cut will last longer that way, and you can mix it in the water with other plants without like poisoning them. Does that make sense? I thought that was a cool thing. Oh, poinsettias, same
And I think
thing.
poppies, maybe, poppies, I think you do that, there are only certain things, but, I've sat in like that first base, but I'm not sure I'm liking what I'm doing here either.
I learned that from one of our Friday focus sessions of Master Gardeners. They featured a Master Gardener group in Knox County who does an outreach project. They've started their own cut flower garden. They manage that garden, the Master Gardeners make the cuts, make arrangements, and deliver those to nursing homes and people who are can't leave their home. You know what I'm talking about? What's the word? Homebound people. And so that was a really neat project, and they were telling us lots of different tips and tricks. So you can go back and watch that Friday focus session if you like.
So I keep switching back and forth. This plant I just put in this space here, the first plant, but it's called wax flower, and that was from wholesale florist. But it's good, it's stemmy, and I think I'm on the right track now, maybe. That's going to kind of hold things in place. So don't feel bad if you don't like it. Start all over. Again, though, if you keep on going, usually at the end, even if I don't like it, even halfway through, the time I'm done, oh, this is acceptable. So just keep playing around with it. And that's hideous right now. So let's just see how it keeps going. I love this Prestige Scarlet Hunter. Wow, no, we did not sell this. It was too, I didn't get the seed planted in time to have it at the plant sale, but maybe next year we'll have it. Some of you may pick some off the trailer when we were giving away some stuff. So the sunflowers, these are the Suncredibles from Proven Winners, which we did not have to sell because, I don't know if you remember, I mentioned this, I think well, maybe not at our meeting because we didn't have one then, but unfortunately when that freeze hit, was that in February, the big freeze? A lot of plants were coming. So let me back up. This particular plant, and lots of cuttings, are grown in Central America in the wintertime. So they're grown in greenhouses there, and the stems are cut and shipped like this into the United States. A lot of it goes into Michigan and Colorado. Believe it or not, they grow they ship to some of the coldest places. But cuttings are shipped like this. Petunia, Cypertunia Vista bubblegum, you're all familiar with it. The sunflowers, they are shipped overnight on planes. Well, because of that ice storm, it all got delayed and all froze. I forgot how many millions of cuttings. So all the sunflowers froze in shipping from Central America, the cuttings like this. So they would have gone to the propagator, and then they would have been rooted, and then the plug would have come to us. So we were only able to get what few of the credible sunflowers were already apparently in the United States for our trial purposes. So what we ordered, we did not get. So anyway, we'll hopefully have these again next year, but they are fantastic. If you ever walk around the grounds, you need to get out here. These sunflowers bloom until frost. There's a bazillion flowers on each stem. they're just incredible plants. So, and they're not grown from seed. They're done from cuttings. They're sterile, and so that's why they keep on blooming, because they're not making energy into the making seed. So. Then this is gum friendly. This is fireworks. We've sold fireworks in the past, and it's one that we'll reseed for you. Also, truffle of pink is a little bit shorter one that we've had in the past, and sticking that in. Some more of this white flame salvia. Some more of the purple ruffles basil. So I like to mix something dark in with the arrangement. Okay, we got a little bit of what did we do?
I feel like that dark basil is kind of the thing that's bringing all those other weird colors together. Like if we didn't have that dark purple, I would be too offended by the pink and red together. But for some reason, that makes it look better. I mean, it just makes sure I feel better about looking at it. Like Darlene was saying, the contrast. Need to learn more about.
Let me have, I don't know, maybe not.
Do you want to do these?
Sure.
It's not.
Yeah, so this is
Black pearl
pepper, and they'll give me a little bit of height in here. I'll just cut that one too short. So peppers is an ornamental pepper, but I love it for that dark foliage, so it can be used as well. Maybe a black-eyed seasoner too. So my favorite black-eyed season, again, an all-American selection winner from way back. Oh yeah, this is the one that will live forever. Mummified. I love it.
full body cat.
I didn't look at them closely, but when we went to wholesale floors today, there were these boxes about 2 by 2, and they had slits cut in them, and I didn't look closely, but there were Gerber daisies, and each Gerber daisy was sitting in this cardboard box. I'm sure the stems were all down underneath. I didn't see it, but Gerber daisies are beautiful cuts. They would all be wired for sure, and I'm sure they're a premium. It costs, but yeah, that's another fun plant.
I thought this is a funny story. Thought I hated Gerber daisies. Told my flower man at my wedding I didn't want Gerber daisies, and got to my wedding and had Gerber daisies. But they were beautiful, and now.
See how that's looking. I mean, after a while, though, it's going to be awful, but it's definitely looking better.
Yeah.
Still needs a little more work to it, but.
So, I mean, we could go on, but basically, we are just hoping they all come tomorrow and
How many people are signed up tomorrow that's still here?
Okay.
Anybody interested in coming tomorrow that's not signed up?
You can come if you want. Just go ahead and come. Guys, you can, yes. And I mean, I think we're gonna have plenty of extra bases and, plenty of plant material. So I'm gonna put the numbers to it in the morning, and if we have enough bases, like I think we're going to, I may ask you to make one to take with you and make one for us to donate to something. That'd be cool. Yeah, because we don't want our stuff to go to waste. So yeah, that'll be cool.
I've not used Ansonia before until tonight. So Les mentioned using Ansonia, so I cut it, and it did have that milky south when I first cut it. But yeah, just add a little bit of fluff and filler in there. And, again, playing around with it. I mean, there's, if I'm doing arrangements for a function and I've never used something in it, I'll cut a piece the day before and be sure that it's going to work, because not everything works. So just playing around and figuring out what works. I love to use bronze fennel, but the bronze fennel's got to be mature enough. If it's still kind of, the seed head's not mature enough, it'll flop over. So again, a lot of that just comes by doing and learning and playing around.
There's actually a rule. You can learn what all of the proper harvest times for different types of flowers are from Alan Armitage in Specialty Cut Flowers, 2nd edition. This is your handbook if you want to learn more about growing cut flowers. We use it all the time. It goes into lots of detail about timing of harvesting blooms, and then the proper way to store them post-harvest. So like if you were really going to get into it and have cold storage and be trying to do your own, small cut flower business, it gives you temperatures, ideal temperatures for them to be stored at, tips on different flowers that they shouldn't be mixed with. Some flowers give off, ethylene gases
just like, bananas do, right? You don't want to put some other kind of fruit close to bananas. Uh-oh, he needs me. He needs me. I can fix it. But, yes, that book is excellent for giving you guidance on all that kind of stuff. And the rule for that, what I was getting back to, is flowers that are in the carrot family. So this will go for Queen Anne's lace, fennel, cilantro, I guess, or not cilantro. Yes, cilantro, parsley, things like that. The umbel needs to be 80%, the inflorescence on the umbel needs to be 80% open. And if it's not, it'll wilt and it'll never recover. So.
That's on Queen Anne's lace.
Well, and bronze fennel and everything in that family. Yeah, yeah. So it's a real rule. And Jason just figured it out by trial and error. Look at that.
All right, any questions? I don't know what time it is, but I thought we'd be done by 7:30. All right, well, yeah, thanks for hanging in with us tonight.
We don't want to let you go because we're not so sure we'll ever see you. Are they going to let us meet next month? I don't know.
All right, well, yeah, anybody?
Oh, yes. Well, they're not here. So I brought the awards for our special people who got awards from our awards banquet in February. This is for Miss Lee Sanders, who is not here with us today. And I will get them too, again. I've had them for a long time. I just haven't gotten them to them. This is for David and Carol Sams. We recognize them for emeritus status, and so we've got them a really nice plaque here. And then for John and Mary Kay, oh, they left her K off her name. I'm gonna have to have them remake this. John and Mary Kay have rented Outstanding Master Gardener plaque, so this is for them.
All right, well, yeah, thanks for hanging with us, and hope to see a bunch of you back here tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be here in August. We'll cross our fingers, so everybody be safe.